Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of College Football UK. As ever, I am your host Fletch, and this podcast is brought to you by the Asleep at Work Network. Football is back. It's not kind of back. It's not back. It is all the way back. We're not in pre-season. We're not in training camps. We're in real meaningful games. To talk about real meaningful games, I have three absolute stunners that I asked to come on, and instead, my three usual people came on with me. First up, we have Mr. Nick. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Lovely stuff. Then we also have Mr. Sam. Mr. Sam, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
And then we have Mr. TikTok. Gary,
Mr.
how are you,
TikTok
sir?
himself. I'm good. I'm good. I'm loving the fact that football is back. Can't wait to delve into this week.
Absolutely. Now, given the implications of what's going on, and we do one episode a week, I think it's about time we just got straight to the news and then we can get into all the excitement of a little holiday later on. Nick's news. Let's go.
Right, okay. Alabama and West Virginia have cancelled their two-game home series in 26 and 27. Alabama were going to be at home in 26. West Virginia were going to be at home in 27. Both teams are going to, the reason they cancelled it is both teams are going to align themselves a little better with schedule conferencing. The SEC have now gone to 9 conference games, so it helps those both teams align themselves a little better. So that's the reason that got cancelled. Virginia Tech have removed the captaincy from Caleb Woodson due to his DWI arrest on Tuesday. Hayes Hedgney is to start at QB for Oklahoma State at the weekend. He transferred in from TCU. And Caden Salter is been named the starting QB for Colorado this weekend. And while we are on Colorado, they have had a retirement this week.
Another jersey.
Not another jersey, no. Ralphie number 6
Ah,
has been
yes.
retired. The
I
five-year
read something. I
the
love the line. Did you hear the line? Well, sorry, I'm getting a
I'm
bit
getting
myself.
there. Hang on.
You can
The
tell.
five-year-old Buffalo has shown, and I quote, an indifference to running. I mean, I show an indifference to running. That doesn't mean you need to
I mean,
retire me and put me out to pasture.
the problem
But
is that was the whole Colorado offense last year. It had a complete indifference to running, didn't it?
apparently, Ralphie 6 will be out in a pasture with Ralphie 5 and will enjoy his time on a ranch. Ralphie 7 will not take over immediate um, duties because, and another quote here, Ralphie 7 is currently in training.
Training,
The
training
Buffalo
camp.
needs
A
to run
buffalo.
from point A to point B. How much training does it need? Don't kill anybody.
Don't kill anybody. Just go straight. Oh, it's brilliant. This is a brilliant story.
I'm fine. Moving away from the silliness. Finally, the NCAA, our favorite institution, are considering a rule to require students to disclose all NIL deals from high school and junior college. Some states do. For example, Texas do not allow any student entering college to have an NIL deal from a lower educational standpoint. A lot of states have restrictions. So basically, NCAA are going to create a rule to say that you know you have to disclose everything. Now, high school students can't be paid directly, so usually it's something like, well, if you do this, we'll give your parents uh, X amount of money to be put in your name or whatever. They can't actually give a high school student cash
Yeah.
for doing something.
As been seen by
Um,
Teddy Bridgewater. I mean,
yes. So, yeah, that's it. Nice, quick, short and sharp. There you go. But there was some news that released today, and I'll head that over to Fletch.
Yeah, so on our Twitter page more than anything, but we do have a Facebook that I rarely update and an Instagram that I update sporadically. The number one response we get and have done all month to almost every post we put out is that's cool, but how can we watch college football in the UK? And up until 3 p.m. ish today, the day of recording, including all morning, all the top 20, all the media people involved in college football in the UK and Ireland have been imploring someone, probably Sky, to get college football back. And we're beginning to get really wound up because it's the 11th hour. But in the 11th hour, always steps a hero. And that hero comes in the shape of DAZN, who have
Who
signed
would
a
have thought
deal,
it? Who would have thought it?
who have signed a deal with ESPN, obviously, who were the providers of the Sky contract for the last couple of years. Now, given how DAZN looks and how DAZN works, this has given us an actually even better opportunity than we ever had with Sky. Maybe not quite as good as the previous ESPN play where you had everything. This will include up to 25 college football games every single week. It will also include bowl games, and it will also include playoffs.
It will also include, massively important for us, and I think for a lot of fans of college, it will also include college game day.
Yes, it will. Although it doesn't look like it'll be available this Saturday coming for week 1, which is frustrating for a reason we'll get onto very, very short. Well, I say shortly, later on in the episode, we will get onto that. But lads, like the most important thing, and look, there will always be someone who complains. The first, like, we all got dead excited, and then instead of saying, okay, we've got college football, there's always then someone who has to complain that next step further and say,
Oh, but it's not showing.
but can we not watch Texas Ohio State? No, we can't. Well, that's stupid. No, it's not. It's not stupid because 2 hours ago we didn't have college football at all.
And zero option to
Boise,
watch.
and now we have Boise State USF. Shut up and be grateful. We're not owed anything per se. Someone went out there and spent their morning writing an open message to broadcasters, sent it around the little groups to just check the wording, and
I don't know where I am.
never got sent. We got the announcement, so I'm taking the win on that one. Keir Starmer was clearly watching my phone. The government are clearly watching my phone and said, "Do you know what? He's a nice guy. Let's go tell DAZN to get it sorted instead." So
Of
I'm
all
still
the problems
claiming,
they've got, you think they're
Yeah,
monitoring
this
your
was one.
phone
still
for your...
taking.
He's still taking the credit for it.
I
It was a
live in-
massive. I think you're right, though, Fletch. It was a massive day today.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky enough. We talk with a lot of the other, college guys who do media around for the UK, and we were all in the same group chat today, complaining, moaning, grumbling about it. And then when this
said-
news started to filter out, we all kind of went a little giddy, to say the least.
Yes.
Yeah, we even started talking about chips and gravy. That being said, let's remember that if you do have Sky, you still can watch the mighty Fighting Irish at home on
Yes.
Sky,
Yes.
which is where I
This
will
is just an addition to the Sky coverage, which will be showing just the mighty Irish at home. However,
So-
on DAZN, you will now have a raft of games available to you, which will be free to view for now.
limited
We'd like
time.
to comment for a limited time.
time.
This is probably a little teaser that DAZN are doing, that's seeing how many people tune in, seeing how many people stream it, and you may or may not find that a subscription will follow. But for now, enjoy the first few weeks.
You also can't say to everybody, "Oh, here it is," and you've got to pay for it by like in the next 24 hours, or you don't get anything. You kind of can't do that. It's not really fair. So maybe the first weekend,
Have you seen DAZN before? Did you think they care about their customers? Sorry.
But I want to make this again because we've got a few new followers over the weekend, over the last few weeks, and it's been really, really nice. And it's great to have you. A lot of you are new, and hopefully some of you are new to the podcast. If some of you are new to the podcast and some of you are new to college football in general, I want to just, we talk about this all the time. Let's rerun it one more time. The contract is with ESPN. Each conference in college football has its own separate media deal with the broadcasters, ESPN, Fox, NBC, CBS.
NBC, like that.
They have their own. So when you do a deal with the broadcaster, you get the broadcasters' games. You don't get anything else. This isn't the NFL where you have a central body that owns all the rights and then they sublicense it to Fox, they sublicense it to Sky, they sublicense it to CBS. Each broadcaster has its own different deal. So we will get games from conferences that ESPN have deals with, as we always have. That'll be SEC games. That'll be ACC games,
SEC games,
Big 12 games. These are the games that we'll be getting. If you're confused as to why Texas, Ohio State won't be being played,
It's on Fox.
It's on Fox because the home team, even if it's a different conference, they don't go, okay, well, ESPN and Fox get that game because it's SEC, and whoever's the home team, it goes with their conference's broadcast partner, and that's it. Hence why a lot of the games are flipped for one and the other, especially if it's a big game and they do a 2-game series, so both broadcasters get an opportunity to show the game. Hence why if a Big Ten team is at home, no matter how big the game, we got this last year, people complained about no Michigan, Texas on TV. This is why. There are obviously alternative methods, which we will now no longer try and promote because we have a proper method of watching games. Please use that. Well, yeah, I want people to remember that piece of information.
It's not our fault that you can't see the games you think you can.
Yeah.
Just be damn grateful we can see as many games as we actually are allowed to.
And it's not, having nothing is partly a fault of all the broadcasters in the UK. But with Fox, we've never had a deal with Fox. The only time we ever have Fox stuff is when Fox's little channel for non-sport stuff is here, and they have the little thing with, I think, with Sky Atlantic, is it?
Something or other, and they do something.
One or the other. But it's got nothing to do with sports. Even when they were basically a sister company of Sky, we never got Fox Sports deals. When we watch games on Sky Sports in the NFL, it's because the NFL holds the license and they tell Fox, just give Sky that feed. That's the only reason we get that from Fox, is because the NFL own the content. The NFL tell them. Otherwise, Fox owns the content. So that deal has never happened. We've never had that deal. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, so again, if you're new to college football, you're in the UK, Ireland, whether that's why we don't get these games, but we get the other games.
Like you said, let's be fair though, there are enough games, like you said, 25 games a week. There are enough games to watch. If, for example, right, I'll just use myself as an example. Yes, I am a Notre Dame fan. So if Notre Dame are on, I'm going to watch Notre Dame. Now, if they're, how many times last year was, you get on the chat, or it's like Sam's like, oh well, I'm not watching because Texas aren't on, and I only watch Texas. Or you get Fletch watching about four different.
I never said.
But if Notre Dame are on, I'm gonna watch Notre Dame. Now, if they are not on, then I will watch a game that is on because I enjoy the sport, because I love it, and I'm gonna pick a game that's on. Prime example. In the chat, guys, are you watching this Oklahoma State game? It is going absolutely mental because it was just score, and I had no skin in that game at all. It was just an awesome game to watch. So it doesn't matter if your team's not playing. If you love the sport, just pick a game and watch it. And if it's useless, change and watch a different one.
That's the trouble we have now. Often there's games with our teams which sometimes are favoured against some lower ranked team, should we say. So you might want to watch that. But unfortunately, after 20 minutes, you're like, well, this is a bit one-sided and it's not really a game worth watching. You need that option. You want that option to be able to go, what else is on. And that was the joy of the ESPN Player. Before, you could just go, there are 89 other games I can go and have a look at. Now, we've got 25 a week. Why not allow people to be happy? I mean, 25 games from what was essentially no games whatsoever.
Yeah.
Apart from whenever Notre Dame were at home. And that was it. That was all we were going to get all season.
I stand by what I put in that thing, we deserve it, right? As a nation, as a collection of nations, we deserve it. We put up, we show up, not just us, but the guys over at the college chaps, the guys over at college days, the guys over at franchise tag, the touchdown, and all the different people in the UK who are contributing to the college football kit. We all show up and we deserve it. And as a community, any of the people who just watch, the people who just get involved as fans, all deserve it, but we're not entitled to it. Whatever we do get, we're grateful for.
Yes.
So, if now we have a legal way of watching it, by the way, do the quick plug for everything first. You feel impassioned now, you want to get on it, get into our Discord. The links you can find are in the description of this episode. If you're on YouTube, you've already looked away. Look over at the 4 tomatoes on your screen. Look down below those tomatoes and you will see a load of text. Go all the way down to the blue things. You'll see a bit that says Discord. Join our free to join Discord. Enter the college channel, and on Saturday at 5 p.m, I will be in the voice channel. I'll not be putting anything on in because, again, now we have legal options. I'm not going to mess those about. I will have at least 3 games on, right? At the same time, I know some of you else will. If you want to just spend the college football day with people who like college football, who are watching probably different games to you, you want to know what's going on, come and join the Discord. Again, I'll be in there. If anyone wants to join me, come and spend the college football day with me, and we'll talk about college football, and we'll have a damn good little party together. Also in those links, you will find links to the AAW Network social media. Please follow the AAW Network boys who bring us this podcast. You'll also find the links to follow us on social media. Go follow us on social media. The more we get of you on there, the more we can do, the better we can keep doing. And then finally, go follow these 3 handsome gentlemen. Nope, that way. Forget about the reverse. These 3 handsome gentlemen on social media as well, because they deserve it. They do. They deserve it.
We'll take it.
The one more. We need to talk about what happened at the weekend. We need to talk
Yeah.
about
What I did on my holidays.
Right, for a couple of minutes, Nick and Sam pretty much out of this conversation. The only 2 of us were there for it.
Hang on. Let's cover this. Let's start with where we need to. Sam, how did the golf go? Did you finish? Did you win?
Yes.
Right, there we go. Right, done. Let's move on.
Right.
That was important because it was Sam's Golf Masters, wasn't it?
And
Yeah.
that was College Football UK. What a fantastic episode, lads. Very well done. And we'll see you next week to talk about Nick's game of lacrosse. No, there was a game of football. There was a few games of football on this weekend.
It was a classic. I mean, it's called a classic, but at least at the weekend, there was the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. And what a classic it was.
It was. It was a fantastic game. Now, before we get into the game, what we have to talk about for 2 minutes is Dublin itself. My second time there now. Gary, I know is it your second or third time?
Second time for the game. A number of times I've been over there for other bits and pieces.
Yeah. I turned up on the Friday this year. Obviously, me and Nick went for the day last time. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, in and out. I stayed from the Friday to the Sunday. Number one, just in general, what an amazing city it is. Number 2, they showed out for this.
Boy, did they roll out the welcome mat.
24,000 Americans turned up, despite the fact that the WWE were there on the Friday night.
Robbie Williams was there on the weekend.
Robbie Williams was there at Croke Park doing over 70,000, but every bar was cardinal and yellow, on purple and silver. Every place you turned was a sign for the Aer Lingus Classic, was a flag, was balloons, was everything geared towards this game. Ireland as a whole country, there were signs for it all over the country, but Ireland and Dublin as a city, the whole city turned up for it and went all in. It was beautiful to see. The split was about 50-50 of K-State and Iowa State fans. Both of them brilliant. Both of, apart from two Kansas State fans, but again, we'll get onto that in a little bit. Two of them weren't so brilliant. But both fan bases were absolutely amazing. Nothing but hot. They treated everyone like they were so happy to just get involved with Dublin, with the people that were there, with the non-Americans. Gary can kind of attest to this. Mrs. Fletch can attest to this. I was walking through my Michigan gate, I kept hearing "Go Blue."
You heard a few other things. Well, you heard one other thing as well. You're mostly Go Blues, but a few others. But I mean, this was my second time over for the game. Last time out was a bit of a weird one because it was a Florida State game and it was massively favoured Florida State. Nick will attest to that from last year. It was just garnet and gold, and the other team was kind of a secondary thought because the Florida State guys absolutely travelled in droves. This time, having the split made it feel so much more of an event in a weird way for me. As you say, everywhere you turned in Dublin, even as soon as you got off the plane, it was signs, it was colour, it was everything. And there were so many people just enjoying Dublin, walking around, seeing the sights, doing all the stuff, and being totally happy to talk to you about absolutely the college game, the players, or, how the hell does some English guy who's in Dublin, first of all, that threw so many Americans was like, wait, you're English, you're in Dublin, you come to watch a college game. It was like they couldn't quite understand the logic behind it. They didn't fathom just how important the game is and how huge the game is over here. But as a city, it was great to see Dublin really lean into it because, as you say, they had other things going on, but they really went all out. And fair play to Aer Lingus, and absolutely kudos to the boys over at College Football Ireland. What a team, what an effort they've put out there. Fair play to them. They're getting all of their dues.
Also, just on top of that, now we attended this last year, we attended it this year. Other kudos to the guys over at Pro Football Ireland and Mahons for the tailgate was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The whole event. Mr. McQuaid is one of the most hospitable and gracious hosts you could have to go to an event for. Everything they put into the game, everything they put into growing the sport, the tailgate at Mahon's and then the after party at Mahon's, which we did done pretending, even though we weren't intending to. Was just fantastic. Again, the event as a whole was just fantastic. Now, we'll let Sam and Nick actually partake in the podcast again now for a minute. Okay, so after we left Buskers, all the pubs available in
other sports bars are available.
Other sports bars are available in Dublin. Little thing happened with the weather. The skies opened up. We get to the stadium. The game starts. The Irish weather continued. The rain continued to come down. It played its part early on in the game. Lads, I want to get a couple of the other stats back up, but what did we make, particularly that first quarter where you could just tell that they hadn't quite found their feet and then the rain got in the way a little bit?
I mean, I can't remember how many fumbles it was. I know the K-State returner basically got injured on the first punt, didn't he? And never came back. And I think he's out for this week as well, running back. It literally was just who's going to hold on to the ball for the longest. It just fumbled back and forth. The weather was definitely obviously playing its part. Didn't obviously help from the TV and what we're hearing from, but those people who could see it, it seemed like the paint that obviously washed off made it a bit difficult to see the markings on the line. Oddly enough, in the stadium, it didn't show up like that. It was absolutely perfectly fine to see in the stadium. But yeah, a first quarter and a first half, if you like, of mistakes, rust, edginess, slippery, whatever it was, it just certainly defenses were on top in the first half. So
yeah, But watching that game, what did you guys make of that first half, particularly when, as Gary said there, Sam, Iowa State, they go 6 plays, 14 yards, end up punting it at the, what was it? Was it like the one? Sorry, at the 9 yard line.
Nice. Yeah,
They recover a fumble. The punt,
muffed.
returner. It's fumbled. Iowa State pick up the ball, and then 4 plays later, they fumble it themselves. Kansas State get the ball. What were you making of that when you were watching it yourself with the view that you had?
I mean, to be honest, I just thought it was just good defensive plays a lot of the time. It was forced. I think it wasn't, although there wasn't technically forced fumbles. I think that there was a lot of plays which maybe a lot of defensive plays which maybe sort of put people under a bit of pressure. And I think that's where, I mean, you could see from that opening punt that it was a relatively easy catch, but the guy running him down from Iowa, he put a lot of pressure on him at that point, but stayed out of the way, and I think that played a massive part, as well as the weather. But I don't think it was. It probably was, a lot of it was weather, and I mean, you can say, start of the new season, a lot of teams, they're not fully up to speed, so mistakes are bound to happen. But I just thought it was, the first half was just two excellent defenses just standing up to and making themselves known. I mean, there was one guy which I noticed, and although he only got, I think, was it 2 tackles for loss, from Kansas State, was it Austin Sanmi?
Yeah,
with defensive end. He was phenomenal the first half. Like, he was everywhere. He was constantly putting pressures on. He ended up with 2 tackles, 2 sacks, and then 2 tackles for loss, which resulted in, I think it was 18 yards, like lost yards. He was just all over the place and was just putting in tackle after tackle and was just there and forcing a lot. It was a bit like watching, when you see, he may not have been actually doing the sacks, but he was forcing people to have to make plays on him. So I think it was just 2 very strong defenses, and you tend to see this when it comes to bad weather, that defenses tend to stand up, because it's easy. You just have to block passes, and you just have to get in the way, and you just have to get back to it. And the quarterback's always going to potentially make mistakes, or he's going to, he hasn't got full grip on the ball, which we did see quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really fun game as an opening game. I quite like it when there's games where you have a first half that's all about defense, and then the second half that was all about offense, and it was just a case of who could come out on top. And it was very much like we spoke about last week on the pod, which quarterback and running back was going to step up, which were the pair that were going to step up. And it was Iowa State's running back, Hansen. He was just unstoppable. Yep. His running was so good in that game. Whereas obviously
Edwards got injured.
Kansas lost their running back out of the back. He got injured. So I think that again played a massive part in their ability to be able to run the ball as well as they could. So
I mean, like you said, it was 2 great defenses, but the first sort of like 4 touchdowns, 2 either way, you could see those moments when the O-line actually did its job and gave the quarterback time to pick a spot and throw it.
Yeah.
That each touchdown, the quarterback had somebody deep to throw it to. It's like the defenses were working and doing their jobs, but on those one plays that when they didn't do their job, the opposition actually scored a touchdown, and it was, God forbid you had to leave that game early, because it was all at the end.
Which is good. It was all at the end. It was quite funny when it was interesting, because when Iowa went 10 up, I think when it was, I think they were 20-10 up or something like that. I think it was 21. No, they were 21.
Yeah. They went 24-14 up.
Yeah, 24-14 up. There was a lot of movement from the purple side of the stadium, which looked like people were like, "Well, that's it, 10 points." I think it was 6 or 7 minutes left of the fourth quarter at that point. There was a lot of movement on the purple side.
Yeah,
and of course, the very next play, as you say, Nick, the offensive line gets some blocks, it give Avery Johnson a bit of time, and then suddenly they're 65 yards down the end of the field, scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
What's interesting though, not a single interception. Plenty of
No.
fumbles, but not a single interception.
No. So
No, you're right.
another thing I was going to say, one of the frustrating things, especially in that first half, was like, again, when you sat at one end of the field, we were sat in the triple tier, not the tiny tier. We weren't sat on that side. You just want one touchdown to happen in front of you. And that first half, we finally thought we were getting one. Kansas State were marching towards the end zone. They were doing really, really well. Then the first quarter runs out. The next play, as they flip the quarter, as they flip the field, they score in the other end zone. And just like that happened to us last year, didn't it, Nick? I'm pretty sure they had
Yeah.
Georgia Tech were marching up, or Florida State were marching up, and they'd got to within like the 2-3 yard line, and then the quarter ended, and they buggered off to the other side, and we didn't get the touchdown in front of us.
I don't think Florida State marched anywhere last year.
Sideways and backwards.
But for me, and I know what you said there, Sam, like we said it last week. I said sometimes you look at college football and you say it all really comes down to who runs the ball best, and so much of college football is down to just how well can you move the ball on the ground, how well can you pound that rock, and then that translates into getting the play action going, getting defenses to kind of be shifting and moving and not knowing what's going on. I think, and I said it'll come down to who's the better quarterback, and I think there are two things here in where the game's won and lost in that second half, right? I think Avery Johnson was overall, in terms of kind of the ability as a quarterback, the better quarterback, right?
Yeah.
In that second half, the passes he was making, Iowa State got most of their work done on their dirty work done on the ground, and if not, it was short, intermediate. But where it came down to where Iowa State won it, and this is where Rocco Becht showed where the areas where he was the better quarterback were. Kansas State went for a couple of big fourth downs when maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't, and they didn't get it. Iowa State did the same. There was a lot of I felt like there was a lot of going for it on fourth down throughout the whole game.
There was seven fourth
Yeah.
down attempts. And
So
Iowa State still
Iowa were 3 for 3, and Kansas were 1 for 4.
And there's where a lot of that game was won and lost. Was Rocco Becht got it done on third and fourth down. That's where I think when you put yourself in those positions, but also when it comes down to it, the coaching, the discipline, and the play call, they were the right play calls in those moments in time as well. For Kansas State, they weren't. For Iowa State, they were the right calls, they were the right plays, and they were executed well. And that's where Iowa State were the better team, and that's where they walk out with a win.
I think the thing as well was Kansas State, because of the injury early to Edwards, they were relying much more heavily on Johnson to step up. Whereas Iowa still had Hansen, who was running the ball well. They had, Sama was the other guy who was running it well, and Rocco Becht, who was also running the ball. And you started seeing more of that in the second half. But I think, if you look at just the stats, I mean, obviously, as a quarterback in terms of throwing, Becht only made half of his throws. He only completed half of his throws. He only had 183 yards with 2 touchdowns, whereas Avery Johnson had 70% for 273 yards with 2 touchdowns. So you can see where the way that the teams were having to play was down to how they were how they were running the ball. And yeah, like I've already said a couple of times, Kansas just didn't really have much of a running game, and I think that's where, like I say, they lost it along with the fourth downs.
Yeah. I say that, and that's where Matt Campbell really showed himself to. I don't want to, because it makes me sound like you're kind of putting down the other coach. I think that's where he came out as the better coach in the game. That's where Iowa State were just a slightly bit better coach. They, like I said, they execute the plays where they need to execute those plays, and that's what it. again, those are the things that it'll come down to. Obviously, we thought,
That the one I'm thinking actually when you're mentioning that, towards the end of the game,
was it the
Fletch,
third
where the
down or the
fourth
fourth down?
down,
The
the
little
fourth
dink
down where
over.
they were pretending they were pretending they were gonna play it, and we were all like, yeah, you're just faking them out. You're gonna
Yeah,
take
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You're trying to
We'll
pull
try
them
to draw him
offside.
offside.
So they took a timeout. They all came running back. The offense came running back out, and then they played like a short dump off pass to Hanson, got the first down, almost scored, and then basically that was the game sealed. That kind of coaching there, which I thought was just super clever.
We got lucky to an extent because the seat next to me became available anyway for that game.
Kind
but
of.
then no. That one of those two seats was available all game. But then somehow I managed to get sat next to Woody off Timu. Or like all four of his mates came dressed as the village people, but they didn't get the memo and came as the same crappy village person. Who one of them was sat right on the end of my row, and all his three mates were sat across the stairs on that row, and all he wanted to do was be with them. So we thought we'd got a few extra seats, and we knew there were going to be a couple of empty seats. So Gary came and sat next to us to start the game. A few minutes into the game, he turns up, and there are seats there that are available, but he kind of does the whole like, nope, that's my seat, so bugger off. Gary buggers off. He then goes, as Gary's gone, sat in his seat, 2 minutes later, he goes and sits on the stairs next to his mates. And I'm like, what the fuck? But then he comes back, and then he goes, and then he comes back, and then there's all this messing about. Luckily, that fourth quarter, his mate had been kicked out because he was a knob. They'd buggered off. Me and Gary got to sit next to each other for that fourth quarter. Someone kept me company through that game, thankfully. So we said though at that very time, we were like, well, oh, they're just going to draw him offsides here. What are they doing? Oh, okay, they're bringing that. Wait, the offense are coming back, and it was just that whole string of working through that together, and that play, just the execution of it. And again, it was only like 4-1, wasn't it? You thought they were going to run it up the middle, everything, everyone powers on, and then just a little dink over.
Hanson again, as Sam said, great game about what Hanson did. All over, just a great game. What a way to set us up from a week zero. What an opening to the college football season. How did we get on with?
I just wanted to say, by the way, the whole experience. I went with Mrs. Fletch and her mate Nicole. Speaking to them both the evening of, the day after, and since. That experience and the way that Kansas State fans were, the way that Iowa State fans were, that's two college football fans made for life now.
Yep.
They both Nicole's done the NFL games in London and walked away and said they were really, really good. She sat there and just went, it's a different level. It's a different beast. It's just a different thing altogether. So much better. Roll on next year. Frankfurt 2026. See you there.
College football UK is going to have to split our forces next year, aren't we?
We are. But I think it needs to be said to the Aer Lingus, to the guys at the Aer Lingus Classic, to everyone who puts that event on, two brand new college football fans were made for life that day because of the experience on what was put on. And that can't be understated to what is on at stake there. That obviously gives Iowa State a little bit of a leverage in the race for the Big 12 now. That is a potentially big blow for Kansas State. We'll see how that plays out throughout the season. It'll be too big a blow, but it definitely makes their lives a lot more difficult. However, those weren't the only game. That wasn't the only game that took place. There were some others. Sam, I do believe you watched live Idaho State and UNLV. How was that game?
It was a very, very interesting game because I went into it thinking this has UNLV win all over it. And the way the game started, you would have thought that Idaho State were the favourites to win this game because they came out the trap so quickly. I think in the first quarter they went, was it 10-0? They were already 10 points up. I even have a feeling that I'll have to go back and quickly check. No, they didn't. So they then obviously then UNLV decided to wake up, got 2 touchdowns back, and then pretty much, I think a drive later, Idaho State came back with another one. But I wanted to look at, there was 2 players that I wanted to look at for UNLV. The first one being, where has he gone? Calandria. Now he probably, for me, he was unbelievable throughout the whole game. He was throwing the ball well. I think he had a 71.4% passing rate, but he was also running the ball well. And I think he had 93 yards on the ground. So he had overall a very, very good game. The other player that I wanted to mention was Jaden Thomas, who was their starting running back for UNLV. Now, anyone who's wanting to, I suppose, look at fantasy football, someone who's maybe probably going to be slightly cheaper, but is going to potentially be making some big plays, Jaden Thomas was someone to look out for. I think he's going to be not as big as Janty was, but he's going to be that group of 5 star.
Well, the stud from that group who's going to sort of put up numbers. Yeah.
But I also wanted, as a final mention, and this is just because, I mean, Thomas, he got 147 yards. He only rushed 10 times, so averaged 14.7 yards a rush, and got 3 touchdowns with a longest of 70 yards. But the other guy that I wanted to mention, this is more because obviously we're on, and with it being an ex-Michigan guy, was Alex Orji, who has transferred over to UNLV. And although he didn't have a lot of involvement in the game, he did play. He did 3 throws for 37 yards. He also rushed for 34 yards, and he got a touchdown. So it looks like his role at UNLV is very much going to be similar to how it was at Michigan, where he would come in and be a gadget quarterback. Essentially, he'd be like a secondary runner. And I thought that was quite interesting to see how, he's gone from one organization to another, but he's playing the exact same role, just at a lower level. In terms of looking at someone, moving forward in their careers, obviously that's not sustainable in terms of moving into the NFL if he wants to make his career there. But I just find it interesting that he's gone from a gadget player at Michigan to a gadget player at UNLV. And it's not to disrespect UNLV. They are a much lower level to Michigan, but it's just the how certain players, that is their role. And you've just got to use their strengths. And credit to him. He's obviously gone there and thought he could potentially get the starting job, and obviously not, because Calandria was unbelievable. So, but yeah, that's sort of, it was a very good game. Obviously finished 38-31, and both teams put up a hell of a fight. UNLV were just that slightly bit better. Were able to sort of finish off big drives. Yeah. But I mean, both teams had over 500 yards, both throwing and rushing, passing and rushing. There was only 1 fumble on each side, which I thought was interesting. And again, probably one of the big reasons, as we've talked about with the game we just had, in terms of the one that was in Dublin, it was the turnovers that killed the game for Idaho, because they had four turnovers, which is not good.
And UNLV took 17 points off those 4 turnovers, despite missing 2 field goals as well, by the way. I watched the extended highlights of the game. It was a fun game. I felt like it had a bit of everything. You had big plays, silly errors, funny things going, and then you had the drama. You had just a drama, and you had an FCS school playing a FBS school pretty close. It's the kind of thing you want. Couple other games happened that weekend. That weekend, I don't want to mention them too much, but quick mention to Kansas. Fresno State, Kansas won 31-7. Western Kentucky beat Sam Houston 41-24. A little mention that it was a fantastic game. The walkouts always amazing. Hawai'i beat Stanford 23-20.
Now, the Rainbow Warriors.
a 3 point. There's the only one thing I want to mention about this game specifically. I've not watched the extended highlights. 3 points, that's a field goal. Hawaii's kicker, who kicked the field goal and had a perfect record on the day. I'm gonna try. I had his name up here.
Okay.
Matuzawa.
Kenzawi
Yes.
Matasawa.
That's the one. Kensai Matsuzawa. Such an interesting backstory. He's 25, 26 from Japan, and he learned to kick by watching YouTube videos. And there he is hitting game winners and being an integral part of a Hawaii win. And you never know. Probably UDFA just because he's a kicker. You never know. He could be in the NFL in a year or two as a kicker from learning by watching YouTube videos. What a story!
He
But
could have at
it is
least
also
missed
worth
two.
it is also worth mentioning in that game, it was 2 minutes left in the game, and they were down 20-17, and he made a 37-yard kick, and then basically had a walk-off field goal to win the game, as
And
well from
that's
a
my
38-yard field goal.
point. He could have at least missed those last two. You know, I nearly went perfect. I was nearly perfect. Bugger.
Nice
So-
link there. How did we get on with our picks then, Sam? After week one?
So, put it like this: the fact that, and we'll put a bit of praise because obviously, as part of the pick'ems that we're doing for each week for the college, we are getting the fans to do theirs. So we had 3 fans this last week, and I just picked the ones that were based on, who picked 2 or 1 or whatever. So I basically just went with the favorite picks, and it turns out that the fans beat us all, which is slightly embarrassing, and got 5 out of 5. After that, we had Fletch, Nick, and me on 4, and then Egg and Gary on 3. So none of us got a full score apart from the fans. So we all need to do better next week or this week coming up.
I blame the Hawaii kicker.
So, yeah, you were closer when you decided to lean into Cardinal for some reason. I don't know what you were leaning.
Stanford were winning, and last week when we made those picks, and all of you went Stanford. Are you sure? Yeah. And I went, I have faith. I have faith in Andrew Luck. And it was. I'm not saying I was gloating before the end, but I was thinking, just hold the line. Let's just keep it as it is.
Put it this way, I got back into my hotel room at about 2-ish in the morning, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but about 2 in the morning. That game was still going on. You weren't sat there before the end gloating. You were fast asleep.
Well, yeah, I was. But... No, I meant from a point.
I know what you mean.
I again just want to make a quick special mention to the quarterback of Hawaii, Mike Aliado. I think Aliado is what I'm going to go with. Who had a very good game, 210 yards, nearly 70% passing completions and 2 touchdowns, as well as 36 yards rushing. Someone who I've in the couple of college football drafts that we've done, I've picked him up in both of them. So solid start for him.
Yeah. Couple of stats regarding the game on Saturday in Ireland. 4.7 million tuned in to watch the top 25 matchup in Ireland. Well, in the US alone. And it has generated what is roughly believed to be about 130 million euros for Ireland. That's incredible. That is incredible. Now, a lot of it is because it goes to the whole of Ireland, and that's because the amount of people we spoke to who'd come over and were like, we'll do a week in Ireland. We'll do a week in it. Will have also generated some tourism for England as well in the UK because people were doing the whole thing. So, but those are incredible numbers and just showcases why Ireland is the second home of college football on this planet. It firmly cemented itself as such. I just want to give a quick shout out to our Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover gentlemen who provided us with some picks last week. They went 1 of 3.
Yes, that's good. That's a pretty good ratio.
1 of 3. Shall we say they only got 2 wrong? That's it. So Kansas State -3, that was wrong. Hawai'i -2, that was correct. And the Kansas State Iowa State over at 49.5 at the time, they got that wrong. And you know why they got that wrong? Because that muppet at Iowa State put his hand down just at the half-yard line before he went into the end zone, and everyone would have had the over.
Everyone would.
And then
Always smash the over apart from when it rains.
So
that, ladies and gentlemen, was week 0.
Week 0. Yes, Gary. Yes, it is. Now we head into week 1. Not too much to say, particularly about the next couple of days, but there are some games on tomorrow night. That's Thursday night. It starts with Boise State, South Florida, which would be a fun game. You want to see Boise? We all want to see Boise State after last year, see how they get on. Many of us have got them to win the Mountain West, so I think we'll be paying attention at least to the result of that one. It is a Thursday night. We've got Ohio at Rutgers, Lafayette, Bowling Green, East Carolina, North Carolina. This is a good few games on tomorrow, going all the way until after o'clock in the morning. Highlight of which for me personally will be Miami, Ohio versus Wisconsin. That's going to be a fun game to watch. Then Friday night, starting with Tarleton State and Army. We've got Western Michigan, Michigan State, a few other games as well. Auburn, Baylor, a standout game. UNLV, Sam Houston. And
Got some tasty things about that one.
More importantly, on Friday night, everyone's favourite, Kennesaw State versus Wake Forest.
So you're going to call? I thought you were calling the Fighting Camels there for a second.
Well, I'm only looking at the FBS because we need to. There's so many games happening this weekend. We need to be careful. There only a couple of teams will be on a bye week as well. So, the place where we really want to be, though, I think, especially on this podcast, is it's going to be on Saturday. And there's no better place to start on Saturday than, let's face it, what is the biggest moment of the week of college football, Lee Corso's retirement and final headgear pick, which will be at it's only one of the little it's only one of those little campuses for just some little game that's happening versus the number 1 ranked team and the number 3 ranked team in the country. Texas and Ohio State, Barnstormer. The only place we need to start with this one is Sam.
Because he only watches Texas.
Because I only watch.
This is all you know about.
This will be a game we'll watch. You'll actually.
Hey!
Once we're done on this,
I'm gonna have to find a way to watch it.
Once we're done, by the way, you can go. So we don't have to talk about everything else. Arch Manning's debut. What are we expecting from him this week?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows what to expect from him, to be honest. I think it's just people need to. It'll be exactly how the media will probably play it out. Is he'll probably start off quite shaky, and then he'll start to show glimmers of why people see him as being the guy. And if we manage to win the game, they'll probably be saying something along the lines of him being a Heisman contender. Because the media don't know how to temper expectations very well. So I personally think as long as he has a solid game and he's coming up against a very tough defense, but it's just going to be fun to be able to actually watch them play again and be able to watch Arch Manning play properly this time.
This is the first time in their college history that in modern era that Texas have gone into the season ranked number one in the AP rate in the AP
Mm.
rankings. They have never been ranked number one going into the preseason. And not only that, it is also the first time in college history that the number one ranked team is the underdog in the game itself.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we
you
have
either go with the number one team and bet the underdog, or you go with the number three team and bet the favorite.
favourites.
I don't
Yeah,
get how that works.
yeah. I think there's probably the reason why they're favourites is because it's Ohio State
Is
at
that
home. I
Ohio
think
as
that's
well?
probably
Yeah.
the only reason.
It's that horseshoe, isn't it?
But seeing as we sort of mentioning about Ohio State, and I do have a question that relates to Ohio State. So I thought we'll throw it in now. When was the last time Ohio State lost a week one home game?
Oh,
Can
What
I ask,
year? What was the year that they last lost a week one home game? Not a first home game of the season, a week one home
is it
game.
is it this century?
No.
Okay, so we've got the 1900s. We boiled it down. Not
I was
25.
going to say it was going to be like 98 or something like that, but it's
I,
still.
I'm going to go with something like a 1956.
No, it's not that far back.
Was
I,
Gary,
I pumped to 98, so I think it's probably just pre-turn of the century, but
Yeah, I'm thinking
like 30
97.
years or something. Maybe it's like a 30-year anniversary type thing,
I,
95. Like,
I'll flip Gary's. I'll go 89.
It was, if I'm closed the app, Jesus. It was 1978.
wow!
Was the last time that they lost
Almost,
a week one home game.
almost 50 years.
And on next Wednesday, Sam will come with the same question, and the answer will be Saturday.
2000 and Saturday, it will be Saturday 2025.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a biggie, isn't it? It's like you
It
look at
is,
the top 10 games this week, and that one just stands out. As you say, Fletch, game day, going to the Ohio State, Lee Corso in his final appearance, and full credit to the man. What an absolute legend of college football he's been. I've got a feeling he's probably going to put on Bucky's head on as his call because it's home, and otherwise he'd get lynched by being at the Horseshoe, and if he doesn't call it. I don't know. Yeah, and on the Arch Manning thing, I think you're right, Sam. I think we've had this conversation about him. I don't think he's going to light the world up in the first couple of games. I think he's got to get his feet under the table. He's got to get used to being the starting quarterback. He's got to get used to the pressure that it comes with and everything else. And obviously, he's had that pressure all his life, but now he's playing for a number one ranked college football team. All the eyes are on him. I think it's going to take a bit of time. If, however, Texas has the number one team and everyone thinks they are the best team in college football, does come out on top of here in this massive game, try and hold back some of the media. So it's just going to be insane. They're just going to go off the charts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a really interesting one, this game. All the connotations with it, the 1v3, the replay of the college football semi-finals. There's so much on this game. What a game to start week one.
Well, and if that scoop and score doesn't happen right towards the end, we could be that one play doesn't happen. We could have been talking about a potentially different semi-final and a different final. Texas coming in with a chip on the shoulder, but also one of the things that's going in for Ohio State, and I want to throw this to the group, is they've lost a lot of people for the draft. They've also got a brand new starter in Julian saying there are rightly taking all of my bias. There are rightly, no matter what questions on this Ohio State team, they've recruited really, really, really well. But in comparison to Texas, who've also recruited really well and kept a lot of talent, what do we expect to see from a Texas side where we know what most of the side is, but not sure on the quarterback, to an Ohio State side who we may not be quite sure what we see from them exactly? There's a lot of unknowns in this game, whilst also very exciting, and we can expect a big, exciting game.
I don't think can expect a big, exciting game.
No,
To be honest, I
it's
think it's going to be
edgy.
it's going to be a low score. It's
Low
going to be a low
score,
score,
mistakes, defenses on top.
yeah, defensive game, and I think you're probably. I would take the under on 45, to be honest, because I don't think it's gonna be that big, and I think it's gonna be a case of mistake. Who makes the last mistake?
Mm.
Or who makes the least mistakes?
Okay.
Yeah, last or least, isn't it? Yeah. This is not one of those 60-point games at all. It doesn't have that written on it.
Yeah, and it's like doing our picks, and I was weighing it up, saying, right, okay, well, Ohio State are at home, advantage Ohio. They've lost loads of players, advantage Texas, and you keep sort of balancing it, and then eventually I just got to the point where, you know what, I haven't put my gut in yet, and I put my gut in, and I picked a tip, and it's like, I think that game is just that. It is literally a coin flip this game, because it could go either way.
So goes on.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's all well and good. I mean, obviously, we don't really know how James Peoples is going to perform at running back. They've got CJ Donaldson. He could do a little bit. Their biggest threat is Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. But how well does Julian Sayin do in terms of developing a relationship with those two this early?
Yeah, O-line hold up, give them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their O-line. You've got from left tackle redshirt sophomore, a junior, redshirt junior, redshirt sophomore. That's their O-line. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong on that O-line from very start with. Bearing in mind, we've got a lot of talent on that D-line, which can cause a lot of problems. Obviously, we've got Isaiah Simmons. We've got, a few of the other guys who have come back from last year. So we don't know how they're going to perform. And, I'll admit I've not actually watched anything of Julian Sayin, and I'm not sure there's probably many people who have, apart from maybe Ohio State fans, to know how well he's going to perform and whether he'll buckle under the pressure. The one thing you would probably say is an advantage against Texas is we've seen Arch Manning play. At least he has been involved in games this season at the high level. So does that give him a slight advantage? Maybe. But I think it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be down to the star players and whether they stand up. Obviously, Caleb Downs is going to be a massive influence in the backfield. As he always inevitably will be. And, obviously we watched him in that semi-final game where he just blitzed through the whole of our team and basically just wiped out Quinn Ewers. So, it could easily happen again. It's one of those games where, for me, I've just gone with my heart. And I always will.
Yeah.
I've done similar. I've gone with my heart, but it's where the hate lies in my heart, and that's driven it. But I do think, though, that at the end of the day, that is a nasty, nasty D-line that you have there in Texas. It's horrible. Yes, like Jeremiah Smith is incredible, and Caleb Downs, as I was saying the other month, should rightfully be in the contention for a Heisman if he plays up to what he should be this year. He should be in there for a Heisman and should be winning awards this year. But that D-line is nasty, and I think if you get up, you start causing. I mean, you look at how look, not to do the Homer thing here, but look at how Michigan caused Ohio State problems last year. The D-line was nasty. Yes, Ohio State had a better O-line. You put them under that kind of pressure, I think Texas are going to have a much better job of putting Julian Sayin under some real pressure and getting in there early. If you can disrupt that rhythm with Jeremiah Smith, if you can get in there, then I think you could have you are much more likely to win. Sorry, I think Texas wins it will be a close one on the scoreline, but
I think as well you've got that you look at some of the players that we've got I suppose in the secondary. Leona Lafau had a great season last season when he actually did play. We brought back Michael Taff, which is an absolute brilliant player to bring back. Malik Mohammed is there. Like, we've got such good talent on the secondary as well. It'll just be a case of you'll probably see Malik Mohammed will basically he'll just follow Jeremiah Smith everywhere. That's all he'll do, is he'll just follow him, and it'll be a one-on-one versus those two. But yeah, I think with this being our tiebreaker, I think I went with a 3-point difference. I think I went with 45 points. Sort of like a 24-21 win, but I could see it being lower than that.
I chose 57. I want a barnstormer. I want it to be high scoring. I'm going for it. Is anyone got anything else to say about this game that hasn't already been said before we wrap it up and move on to the next game?
Nope.
And one more time, has anyone seen the Lee Corso documentary, by the way? I'm gonna try and watch it this week if I can make it available to me.
I've not a chance yet.
Nope. Oh, right, okay.
I haven't even started watching the SEC one yet.
Okay, so the next game on our list of games, I think you need to watch, but also just we need to be keeping an eye on. Lots of questions on it. Clemson, LSU. That's not our graphic, by the way.
Borrowing that. Just these are the top 10 games, and we move into number 2. I mean, there's some stonking games this week, but this is one we're going to start talking about now.
Of course, they used a picture of Arch Manning. Let's keep piling the pressure on him.
Brian, Clemson, LSU. There's a lot, again, that Clemson are up there in the top, as we discussed off camera as we're starting, top 5 in natty favourites. Brian Kelly needs this win before LSU fans really start to turn. Defense was poor last year. They struggled to get going. They lost that one where they kicked themselves throughout, shot themselves in the foot repeatedly against USC last year. Nick, where did you see that? What's going on with this game?
Well, I've put on my notes, will the real Death Valley please stand up? Because they both refer to themselves as Death Valley, and this is going to be the battle of the defenses. Which defense can bend and not break? Because Clemson's defense is absolutely monstrous, and their offense ain't bad. LSU lost a lot of defensive talent last year. You know, they lost a lot of offensive talent last year as well. So I think it could come down to literally which defense stays strong. And, you know, I quite fancy, this is another game that I think it's not going to be a high scoring one. I think you'll probably find it's quite a low scoring game.
I've got a feeling this one is. Compared to the one which I think this one's got points. I think this has got points in it. A bit more. I still think, whichever defense comes out towards the end on top will be the defining factor. But I think it will be. This is one where the over, I reckon, will be done. But at the end, one of the defenses will stand up and kind of eventually stop the other one, and that's where I think this one is. But I think there's points all over this game.
I mean, it's the over under is 57.5. So we're talking what? To get over
talking
that,
30, 31, 34, you're in that ballpark.
I'd be on the under on that. I just don't see it that big.
With how good with how good Clemson's defense is, and how, you know, if LSU can sort themselves out, I could see this being very low scoring. Probably, maybe slightly more. Maybe sort of like probably similar. Like I would probably have it at around what I've got for Texas, which is a 24-21.
45 marks somewhere there.
Yeah, 24-21, I think is probably about 45 point mark, probably about right. But yeah, I don't know. It's
at some point next week when we come back, one of us will put it right.
Yeah. Club Nick, I think, is he's my favorite going into the Heisman.
Is this a Heisman playoff? do we think this is going to be one of those ones where whichever QB comes out on top takes the first step of Heisman favorite, or are we still think if Arch wins game one, then
I honestly, I would, if it was me, I would take Arch out of the running completely. I don't think he should be in there. I think unless he basically just runs the roost of every single game, I just don't think he should be in there. I think, Klubnik and Nussmeier have both proven themselves as very solid quarterbacks in college football already. And I think it'll be a case of, I think whoever wins this game will have the bookies' edge of who could be favourite if you take an Arch Manning out of the whole situation. And I genuinely think that Klubnik, I still think Klubnik is going to be who's going to be the Heisman winner, and I also think Clemson will win this game. I don't think it's as big of an issue for LSU losing this game in terms of their potential for the SEC title, but I think Clemson are just that little bit stronger. I think their defense is better. I think their offense is slightly better. I just think that they're just that slightly better team, in my opinion.
Yeah. Quick question: if LSU lose this game, just how toasted does that seat get for Brian Kelly? And it was pointed out, if LSU want to get rid of him, they've got to pay $50 million because of the contract that he's under. But
it's a silly money in coaching contracts, isn't it, in college?
Those fans at LSU are not gonna be happy. That is it's still a big game. And if you can, again, if that defense is not vastly improved from last year, if you keep making those same silly mistakes, time's going to start running out for him, and fans are going to start losing patience, and they're going to start getting upset with him.
It's one of those weird ones, right? It's week one. If it's a close game, if they lose it by, as Sam was saying, 24-21, or they lose it by 3, are we talking pressure, or is it like, well, week one, tough game, we'll give him a few more weeks, we'll give him the season? I don't think it's that. I don't think it's
the end of the world for them losing the game, but I do get the idea that fans will start to question his ability to get them over that next step.
Yeah,
because it's losing a game to a team who are going to be up there with you, who are going to be in the contention for the Natty where you want to be. These are the teams you need to be beating in order to be able to take that next step to being in the Natty. The only thing I would say is that it's week one of a very long season, so the pragmatists will look at it and say, "Yeah, it's not great, but we'll love the game."
Yeah,
I do get Fletcher's point that week one losing to Clemson, but
you look at the LSU Clemson game. I think you look at the Texas Ohio game, and you look at the Notre Dame Miami game, and I think you just have to put it into context that whichever 3 teams lose those games, you're right at the beginning. It's not like there's 4 games left. You have got an entire season to, it only needs one team. You go 11-1, you lose your first game and then go and win all 11.
You're in the playoffs.
So I think you just need to just realize that, okay, so we lost this game doesn't mean that head in your hands. It's throw
the baby out with the bathwater, as we say.
Yeah.
But
especially, I think the difference this time round is obviously, as with the expanded playoff format, losing your first game is a lot less impactful. Previous seasons, whatever else, you lost that first game, not making the top 4.
Every team has the ability to lose 2 games, I think, and still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's your window. If you lose 2 games, you could still
from the Power 4 conferences you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So
like with the game last year, it was like they shot themselves in the foot. It was stupid the way that they lost that game last year. They were like it was neck and neck throughout, and then they just they conceded a stupid touchdown that they shouldn't have conceded. Um, they make a stupid play. It's an interception. Like, they shot themselves in the foot, and I think the question is not. It's the manner in which you lose some of
Yeah,
these games as well, which is have you at least corrected them? Again, if it's a shootout, if it's a whatever, it is what it is. But there's also the manner in which you lose these games, I think, as well. I've said Clemson to win it. I stand by Clemson to win it. I think they're the better team. I think they're the better coach. I just think that all around that they are better, and it should 100% be. I'm riding with Clemson in that game until the end of it. Quickly moving on to another game that I really, really enjoy
just
looking
just
for.
just to mention, I was 5. The only person to go to back LSU was Gary, lone wolf
Brave
in the
man.
LSU. He's
Brave,
also the only one lone wolf in the Ohio win as well.
brave man.
Oh.
Nick, I don't. I did. There's a. It's going to be a very, very good game. This, but there's not. I think what rides on it is not quite the same as the others. We've got a newly housed Carson Beck, who's been topic of a few conversations this off season, versus what I would hope would be a Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame side that has a chip on their shoulder that's a January sized chip on their shoulder, a college football playoff title sized chip on their shoulder. What should we expect from Miami, Notre Dame at Miami, which I believe will be on the zone this weekend, so you can still watch it.
Yes, on Sunday night from Hard Rock. Carson Beck last year had an accuracy rating of less than 50% when throwing into tight window coverage on man-to-man marking. Now, Notre Dame's defense is set up for man-to-man. So if Carson Beck has a less than 50% last year, and he's had a dodgy elbow all summer, I can't see him improving that much. So this game, he could struggle. The Notre Dame defense last year was fantastic. So yes, we've lost Al Golden, but you would think don't change anything. All right, the guy has to change, but don't change anything. CJ Carr in at quarterback. Early on, I thought he might win the race. Then I changed, but yeah, I kind of think this game is going to be a blowout. I think Notre Dame are going to walk into Miami. It's supposed to rain. So
when it rains in Miami,
it's supposed to be a really heavy thunderstorm. It will rain at some point. Whether it rains before the game or during, we don't know. But I've got a feeling that Notre Dame are going to walk into Miami and they're going to walk away with a win. So,
I mean, I would agree that they'll walk away with a win. Whether I agree with a blowout is a different question. I think it'd be comfortable enough, but maybe not a blowout. What about you, Gary? What do you think on this one?
it's a tricky one because obviously from a Florida State perspective, I'd like Miami to get absolutely rinsed. However, and also, they did lose a fair majority of their offense last year. They lost a QB, they lost some wide receivers, etc. So they're all in a kind of a rebuilding phase. I think Notre Dame is stronger. I think Notre Dame have got the package around them much better than Miami have. I do think it's a comfortable win for the Irish. Blowout depends on your definitions, but I don't think this is going to be. I don't think it'll be competitive for maybe 2.5 quarters, but I think Irish will win some away. I don't think it's going to be close towards the end.
I don't think it'll be a one-score game. That's what I mean.
No,
Okay.
no,
In the
I'm
case,
giving you, I'm giving you by 4. I don't know what the
Yeah.
over under and I don't know what the line is, but I think if it's 13 and a half,
2.5.
then
Two
I'd
and a
say,
half is 2.5 is the line, and over 49.5.
wow,
I'm smashing that
smashing
line
that
for
line,
Notre Dame.
easily doing that line, easily. I think Notre Dame by 9, maybe 10.
I can agree with it. I'd like a 10. I reckon a 10's a nice number there. So I said smash that Notre Dame line. Like,
I
nice.
think when you look at Miami last year, Cam Ward was doing so much for them.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot of what Cam Ward was doing, Carson Beck cannot do.
Carson Beck is
And
not Cam Ward. He doesn't have.
Carson Beck is one of those old style quarterbacks, those the Brady style that's my pocket. I'm staying there. I'm not running around and doing anything crazy. He likes to be that stand up, stable, don't move, and I think that's his downfall as the sport changes and all the hybrid running back quarterbacks sort of come to the fore. It's I just can't see how Miami have covered all the holes that Cam Ward and the rest of the offense
I think
had.
in order to be a quarterback like Beck, you've got to have insane accuracy, and he doesn't have it.
No.
He's a pocket
So-
passer. He should be, he should be able to, pick apart defenses, and he can't because, as you
If
say,
anything,
50% of the time he's hitting a defender rather.
He's going to have to rely on his tight end, I think, a lot. And Elijah Lofton is probably going to see a lot of receptions in that game and in this season, I reckon.
The thing is about Carson Beck. Well, not saying about Carson Beck, even Miami last year. Yes, obviously. Come on, Cam Ward was the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Say what
And
you
he
want,
deserved to be.
that doesn't happen to crap players. So I'm not calling out Cam, but Miami were bailed out in a couple of games last year by some questionable calls that we've spoken about on this podcast.
Really?
So if you give them not a Cam Ward, not nearly a Cam Ward, who had to get bailed out a couple of times, I'm not high on. I'm just not hot on Miami at this moment for those
I think
reasons.
the one thing you've got to look at, and again, it kind of goes back to what Nick was saying. If you look at their offense and defense for Miami, 2 of their 3 wide receivers that are on their depth chart starters were trade-ins, or 3 of their starting O-line were trade-in. Sorry, 2 were trade-ins of 5. Their quarterbacks obviously a trade-in, and then their defense, they've got 4 or 5 on there as well. That would actually no, that's a lie. 2, 4, 5, 6. Their whole secondary was practically traded in.
Yeah,
or like
and from a transfer portal team who tried that, it doesn't always work.
So yeah, there's a lot going on at Miami. So like I say, I agree. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Notre Dame.
Yeah, context of the blowout. More than a 1-score game was where I was going with a blowout.
Oh yeah,
At no point are you worrying about the game in terms of where the score is, sort of.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like, yes, Notre Dame have to play Miami, and then they have to play Texas A&M. If we come out of that 1-1, I'll be happy. But it's not this one that worries me. It's Texas A&M at home that worries me, not Miami away.
Right.
And just to kind of go through the picks, everyone went Notre Dame apart from Egg, who chose Miami.
Well, he would do.
He would do because he's a contentious so-and-so.
Moving on to a game that maybe doesn't particularly jump straight off the page at you as the most exciting, but I think there's a lot of questions on this game. It's a big question mark for many, many reasons. We've got Florida State at Alabama. a brand new look FSU, or that's what we should be having. It can't get worse than last year.
Please God.
Gary, I know that I know we posted that clip the other week of you saying, "Oh, FSU beating Alabama," but we know that you're not particularly on that train. But what are we expecting from Florida State? Are you expecting them to at least keep it close to see the growth?
But the problem is, right now, we don't know. But it's such an unknown with Florida State because it was such a car crash last time. As you say, Castellanos now under center. Who knows what we're going to get? We've got a couple of players around him. We've got a couple of receiver that I'm looking forward to seeing. Running backs. I think we're going to go back to like how we were for the 13-0 season. I think it's going to be a bit of a run heavy look to the things, try and kind of keep things a bit closer in games. But I just got a feeling it's just such an unknown. I just don't know what we're going to see. I don't know how they're going to gel, and I don't know. Obviously, changing in coaching, Mike Norvell's fine. I mean, if you're talking about a hot seat, he's got to get better. He's got to be bowl eligible at least by the end of this season. Otherwise, he's out the door. This is a tough game. Is it a free hit for them? Slightly in a way, because I think everyone's saying Alabama's going to come in and roll them after last season, and they should. I just think it's a free hit, and puncher's chance, if you like. I think there's a chance that they could bloody the nose there. The whole Castellanos digging up Florida, putting the stuff out there about Alabama and whatever else, as we talked about, it's probably pretty stupid because all Alabama have to do is put his quotes on the wall. But it could work in their favour as well. It could give Florida State a bit more of an edge. So I think it's a puncher's chance, fighter's chance for Florida to make a statement. I think overall, if we're within one score, that's enough of a statement.
Yeah, the over-under is 14, so a two-score game. Well, 13.5 is the money line, sorry, and the over-under is 50.5, which I'd probably take, to be honest. I think the big thing for you is that you've got all but one of your starting offensive players are transfers. The other one is a rookie. So, I think it's going to take at least 2 or 3 games to get into any sort of rhythm before we start seeing, I think, what is probably how Florida's going to play. I just wouldn't. It's almost like, when you're the number 1 seed in the NFL and you just have to take the rub of the green. You're going to be crap, but the difference is you've potentially got a few players in there. The only thing I would maybe worry about is the fact that majority of those players that you brought in that are starters are seniors.
Yeah, so one hit wonder type thing.
How many of those are then obviously going to leave at the end of this year, and then you're almost at another starting point again? So it's probably going to be a number of years before we see what
we have to get back to properly, recruiting through the old-fashioned way, not using the portal. And we've struggled with that this year specifically after last season. A number of high-level recruits decided to go elsewhere within the state because of that. So we have to start putting a bit more emphasis on that. Otherwise, as you say, Sam, most of our teams will leave again at the end of this year, and then if we go hit the transfer portal again, and we're blessed. Florida State are blessed. They have donors with big pockets. Never really a shortage to influence or to say to people, come play in Florida. We can pay you X, Y, Z. NIL's pretty good down there. And, the weather's all right, et cetera, et cetera. So they'll probably always do well from a transfer portal perspective. But it does mean that everything's a bit short, sharp, and stunted. And as we saw last season, when they tried that and get it wrong, it can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is that a lot of these, because they are transfers in, as a team, they know they've got a lot to prove. That could work in their favour. And
transferring in, they have the experience. They have played at other places, so the plus and the minuses. They don't quite weigh up.
It's going to go one way or the other. You're either going to be utterly terrible, or you're going to
Again.
shock people.
Yeah, I think we are one of those teams that I hope gel well, come out with that sort of siege mentality of it can't be any worse than last year. We've got a point to prove it's us against the world, and I think punch a few people in the mouth along the way, make people sort of go, "Oh, hang on, that's not so much an easy role game now. We can't just expect to walk in there and come out with a win. Maybe it's a bit tougher." Whether or not it happens to go to Alabama, yeah, no matter how garnet my glasses are, if we can cover the spread, then that's plus. That's a win.
Yeah. I
It's
do
also
want to
worth mentioning. I was going to say it's also worth mentioning Alabama.
Yes.
Yeah,
very
they've lost
good.
their captain. Well, it's also worth mentioning that their team captain may not play. Their defensive lineman Keenan has injured and uncertain if he'll play. So that might help. Actually, I think he's come out. He's actually will miss. He's actually going to miss the game. High ankle sprain. Their team captain, starting defensive tackle Tim Keenan, the third, will not play for the next couple of games.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of Alabama, because I do think while we talk about Florida State, Alabama, and we talked a lot about Florida State, we do need to also mention that they do play Alabama, who have question marks. Now, what those question marks are slightly different ones. But Kalen DeBoer needs to take that step up from last year, where it wasn't that Alabama under Saban that we knew. There was some learning curves in there. There was a little bit of a, there was some,
Unsaban-like moments.
Yeah. So, what do we need to see from Alabama as well? Do we, from Florida State, you need to see, just want to see him cover the spread. You just want to see him be in there and fight in that game. You don't want to see him get bent over and all that sort of stuff. From Alabama, you kind of want to see them dominate, try and you want to see him bend Florida State over a little bit, because given where they're at the moment, that's what you would expect from an Alabama.
They've got to make a statement in their own right, because they got left behind last year in terms of the SEC a little bit.
Yep.
Obviously, Texas coming in first season in there basically took their spot in terms of the top two. I think that's what they've got to put down a statement to say we're Alabama.
They've got to put down an Alabama football statement, which is kind of consistent across the board. First phase, third phase, all phases together, offense, defense, special teams. Just a roll tide performance where it is they just roll in, do the job, get the job done, have no qualms, don't have any issues, don't have any sort of nuances, make it not nervous for anybody. Get the job done, get out. Professional Alabama football. Smash up the middle, score a few points, get out. Done. That's what would be ideal for them. What they don't want is, as I say, a puncher's chance for Florida. We go out and start swinging and cause them a few upsets, and Alabama are a bit disjointed, start to get a bit nervy, because then that's, again, as you say, Fletch, it's not the Alabama that people are used to. And it's maybe indicative that Kalen DeBoer isn't the next great, second coming or whatever else. So it'll be interesting. There's lots of ins and outs.
So they're the four main games I think we wanted to cover. Look, if we could talk about all the G5 there are lots of exciting G5 games. There really are. If we could talk about them as well, the podcast will go on for 10 hours, and we're already.
We could be here. I mean, Auburn Baylor is a great one. That's a massive big game.
Look, if you want to make sure that we're covering G5, one, Egg will be supplying us with G5 content every single week, but also if you want to talk G5, about the G5 and you want a part of it, help us set up a subsidiary to this podcast and do a G5 one. Come and talk to me. Couple of bits that I think are important. It does just so happen that some of the most exciting games, the biggest storylines, are our teams. One of it's not by design that I've specifically made sure we're talking about ours. It's that they're the ones with the.
We're not talking about Michigan.
Au contraire, my friend, I'm about to.
You knew that was coming.
There is a thing, though, I think is one small interesting storyline is the number one recruit in the entire country will be suiting up this weekend for, as he committed to, LSU. Oh, wait, no, he's not. He flipped, went to Michigan. Bryce Underwood has been named the starter this week by Sharon Moore in Michigan. We're against New Mexico, a game you would expect Michigan to kind of walk over a little bit, hence why it's not particularly the most exciting of games to talk about. But I do want to just shout out, look, Bryce Underwood will be starting this week. Be really good to see how he gets on. I think I said in a TikTok video, because I do TikTok things now too as well, because I'm cool, I'm down with the kids. I just want to be like Gary is, I think, where I'm getting at. Bryce Underwood gives Michigan the best chance of winning. He's that good. Whether a best chance of winning as many games as possible, I'm not saying he is going to get us to the playoffs this year. I'm not saying he's a playoff run quarterback yet. He's a freshman. Mistakes will be made. Learning curves will be done. But he gives Michigan the best chances of winning this year. And the mistakes that he makes, allowing him to make those mistakes, gives us the best chances of winning going forward. Nebraska is a team that I'm really looking forward to seeing as well. I want to see how Dylan Raiola, because Matt Rule has said nothing but great things about Dylan Raiola and how he's projected. I'm excited to see how Nebraska get on.
I can't wait to watch the Gamecocks. I think Ladaris Sellers is supposed to be absolutely.
I do fancy that game. You talk about Nebraska, Cincinnati. You know, both teams will want a bowl game. Loser could well be eliminated because they've got such tough schedules, both of them. You know, this game is probably one game that they're both looking at going, we need to win this one. So, you know, you lose week one and your season might be over already. You know, that Nebraska Cincinnati game's got some meat on it.
And it's interesting because that's obviously another one of our pick'ems. Only one person has gone Cincinnati. And that's Harry.
Did I go Cincinnati on that one?
Not really. No, sorry, Fletch did.
I was going to say, there was no way I did. I mean,
I think Cincy are one of those sneaky teams to watch this year. I think they could very much cause an upset. I like Nebraska. I like Dylan Raiola, but at the same time, I don't think that I like them. I'm not saying, but that doesn't mean that they're good. It just means I like them. So the other bit, we've got Bill Belichick in his first game at UNC, just as a quick fire one, which will also be a preview to next year's Aer Lingus Classic, which no one cares about because there's another game happening in Germany that weekend. But
three of us care about that because three of us are going to Dublin. One rando is going to Germany.
So Bill Belichick.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see that. I think we've talked about it. We've given Bill and Jordan a bit of love up to this point already. I think it's too early to see the Bill Belichick influence because it's going to be through training, coaching, recruitment. But it'll be interesting to see how he gels with the US.
Because it's completely relevant in the game and it's not completely off topic. Has Bill Belichick lost weight in his face? No, but you know, you can see. I saw a picture. I saw a picture of him yesterday, and the first thing because obviously I've spent 20 years watching Belichick.
Is it because he wasn't wearing a big grey hoodie?
Well, might have been, but yeah, and it just looked like his face was narrower, and I thought, are you? I mean, to be fair, maybe
he's doing a lot more exercises.
Maybe he is doing a lot more aerobic exercise.
But having to deal with Jordan, he's probably stressing out as well.
So, maybe a little, but he is knocking on as well. Don't forget.
I know, and I completely
not knocking off. Knocking on.
That is not relevant to the game, but it was just something that was on my mind when I saw it, and I went, "Oh, I'll bring that up."
So, but I think we're all invested in how they look, but we're not expecting big things. Is that the general gist of it? We're expecting a bit more discipline, maybe from UNC, we're expecting, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but nothing
The
major.
best of Belichick you will see after this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
give him this year as a pass because he's got a lot to,
Get under the table, do all of those. Yeah.
So
Get
we
used to it.
said
It'd be interesting to see
pod,
next year, as you say, Fletch,
yeah,
as this
we
is the
said in
game
a
that's
pod
open.
months ago, that it's not this season that you judge Belichick. You start judging him from next season onwards.
Year 2 and 3, yeah. So seeing him in Dublin next year, seeing his team that he has built through this year, through the portal, and through the recruitment, then the spring training, it'll be really interesting to see. Because then, as Nick says, then we'll see the Belichick imprint on the team in week 0 next year in Dublin. Get tickets now. Sign up.
What's ironic is 3 of us have still gone for UNC to win.
Yeah.
And 3 of us are on this pod at the moment. The other 2 are Fletch and Egg, who have both gone for TCU.
They're still in recovery mode after their massive season a few seasons ago. And I just don't think they've got enough.
I was looking at this game and I was trying to work this game out, and I just thought, on the TV, biggest game, big, huge opening game. We talked about how UNC had sold out quicker than they've ever sold a game out before, and I was just like, you know what, this has got Belichick.
It's got banana skin. It's got banana skin written all over.
No, I was like, no, I think Belichick's gonna make sure they are switched on beyond anything, and we're gonna see classic Belichick, I think.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say on the games, everyone wants to know it. The MacGuffin Bowl this week, the matchup for the MacGuffin, obviously the Florida Gators are the holders, and it's against the Long Island University Sharks. If you're asking who, if you're asking who are they, so are the Long Island University Sharks. Not even they know.
So most of the Florida Gators fan. That could be a
someone complaining about catching strays today, and you're throwing shade at the Long Island Sharks. Yeah. Shame on you.
Shame on you. Shame on you. But yeah, that's pretty safe to say that that's probably staying in the swamp.
I mean, they're only 99% predicted to win this one, the Long Island University Sharks, so that they can take a little bit of banter. So I have one piece of trivia before we wrap up. It's not a trivia question, don't worry. So this is the first year since 1945. Yeah, since 1945 that there have been 3 top 10 non-conference matchups in a week. A very, very rare feat indeed. That is 3 top 10 non-conference games for the first time since 1945. It's going to be an electric week. There are so many games to look forward to, so many storylines, so many things going to happen, and we can watch most of it, or a lot of it, unfold on DAZN for free this weekend. So
this weekend
leaves me without further ado to. Oh, by the way, we've done most of the pick'ems now, haven't we? Sam, you happy with those pick'ems? Is there anything else that stood out on the pick'ems, or should we just do the graphic this weekend?
Yeah, we'll just check out the graphic. I mean, most of the others, there's a few. There's none from what I remember, and I'll just have a quick look through. No team has been solely picked, so there is at least some contention with all of us this week, with every week. There's a few, lone wolves, but majority of them, there is at least some differentials.
Yeah. And if you're looking to put a flutter on any of the games, you can watch this weekend. Good teams win, great teams cover our very, 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 very good friends, in which you can find also the link to all their stuff in the description of this episode too, if you've made it this far. You can. Their betting tips this week are taking a favourite. They'll take Clemson minus 3.5 versus LSU. LSU have been horrible opening opening week, losing their last 5 opening games. Suspect on the O-line coming up against the Clemson team that are projected to have a 2 of that D-line go in the top 10 of the NFL draft in 2026. Clemson might have the best offense in college football with a settled O-line, arguably the best trio of receivers in the country, and I'm taking Clemson minus 3.5. They'll make light work of LSU. There is an over. They are taking the UNLV Sam Houston State over at 62.5, gentlemen. 62.5. These are crazy numbers, and we're here for it.
Big numbers. We're loving it. Smashing that over. Do you reckon that's based on last week? That's based on last week.
Both of these defenses suck. It's as simple as that for this one. UNLV gave up 30 plus points to Idaho State and scraped past them with 2 fourth quarter scores. Western Kentucky put up 400 passing yards and 40 points against Sam Houston in week 0, which could be a recurring theme of their season. This could hit by halftime. Cue a 17-14 final score.
Yeah, cue a 9-6.
Underdog. Your underdog bet for the week is Buffalo at plus 17.5 as they travel to Minnesota. As we usually see early in the college football season, one of those big underdogs is going to win outright. While not quite at the level of Northern Illinois going into South Bend and beating Notre Dame as a 28-point underdog last year. Wow, catching strays.
Who's catching strays now?
It's not crazy for the Buffalo Bulls to win this one outright, 6-1 if you're interested. I expect this to be a low-scoring game. Minnesota rarely score 30 plus, and while they do have a stout defense, I think Buffalo can score enough to cover. Over/under is 44 for it, so I'll take the plus 17.5 with Buffalo. And finally, under the Western Illinois under 63.5. Maybe a bit of a cop-out pick here, but Illinois are minus 45.5 point favorites here and face a tricky trip to Duke in week 2. We could see a chunk of starters sit most of the second half here and be up 40 points. I'm fully expecting Illinois to win to 0, so surely these will be an easy off before getting to 64 points. If Western Illinois get into 14, then this under is in trouble.
Like some big kicks. I can't believe, the Buffalo. I'm loving the Buffalo picks. I'm pretty sure I picked Buffalo to win that conference.
You did. You did pick Buffalo to win that conference. Right, lads, without further ado, that just leaves me to say a huge thank you. Nick's fallen asleep on the spot. Sam looks like he's ready. He's sick of all of us already. And Gary...
It's been a long old week past Joe, isn't it? But
Gary's ready.
I've just been looking at not to go off topic, but I've been looking at the Carabao Cup draw.
So Sam's not interested in Sam's distracted and not paying attention anymore, and Gary's ready to go to bed as well. So am I.
Dogs are shouting.
Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. I will see you in a week's time. Well, I'll hopefully see some of you over the weekend to talk some college football. But we will see you in a week's time to talk week 1.5, the games from the weekend, the upcoming games that weekend. And
get your picks in, folks. Get your picks in.
We'll see you on social media and hopefully see you all in our Discord. And then we'll see you next week on the podcast. See you later. Press the wrong button.